Hi everyone, Shane R. Monroe here. Today the ManbaOne full color screen interaction controller right here. This looks great. I did receive this free of charge, but there is no expectation of a positive review, no review of my videos. This is my own review. Well, it looks great in the box. It's got its own stand. Let's open this guy up and see what's inside here. So it's packaged very, very nicely. Underneath the packaging, you have your standard USB-A to USB-C, I'm assuming for power. And then we have a couple of toppers for your analog sticks. Very nice. And of course, a manual to teach you what you're doing. I hate these fold-out manuals. I don't like them. I wish people would stop using these, but whatever. They're probably very cheap to make. All right. So yeah, that's what's inside. Now let's take a look at the what's that little guy? A little black padding thing. Spacer. Okay, so let's get this guy out of the box. All right, come on, get out of there. There we go. All right, so here's the controller itself, and here is the base. It's a charging base. That's great. Normally you don't get charging bases if you're not paying $100 for a controller. And let's take a look at this base real quick. It's simple. There's a little door under here. Not sure what that is. Let's take a peek. Oh, well, there you go. It's the dongle. It's the dongle for the controller. That's kind of nice. Just tuck it away. It doesn't take up any controller space, and it's still somewhere where you'd know where it was. Looks like we have USB-C on the back and pogo pin charging, which is great. Just drop it in, and the thing starts to charge. Great. Very, very nice. I like it. All right, but let's take a look at the controller physically. It's interesting. I don't know if I dig this color. I prefer my controllers to be black. But I kind of like the transparent nature of the bottom. The silver and white is attractive. On the back, we do have 4 buttons as well as trigger locks. These are only half pull trigger locks, but they're trigger locks, and most controllers don't have them, and I wish all controllers had them. These are a little stiff. There's a power button here. There's our pogos for charging. Yeah, these feel fine. You know, bumpers are typically the first thing to go. The buttons are not noisy that I can tell here. They're very comfortable. The D-pad feels good. We're going to have to do some testing though. We know how D-pads can feel good but still not perform well. And of course, the analog sticks feel fine. Here we have a start and back, a plus minus, as well as a couple of other keys. We're going to talk more about those. I'm assuming that these little guys just pop right off. No, maybe not that one. Okay, let me pop. Oh, there we go. Just have to do it a little harder. All right, and then you can put these guys, they're a little bit taller for those of you who like the extra expansion. Now you don't have to get those goofy little covers to put on them. You can just use the replacement stick. A lot of this stuff is the same as it is with the Xbox Elite 2 controller, which is probably in my top 3 controllers of all time. So you can see right here, through here, there's the rumble motors, and it all looks clean. I mean, it feels good in the hand, which is something that's not always the case. Everything feels where it should be for a controller of this type. All right, we're going to peel this plastic off. All right, so I think what we need to do now, though, is to charge it up. And that way we're all fully charged and we can start playing around with it. There you go, a little light indicator. So the beauty of this controller is you can do everything on the controller using these buttons and the screen. So let's see exactly what that looks like. So the screen, by the way, is great. I don't know if it's coming over well on the camera, but it almost looks fake on the press and the sales ads. But it does. It works very well, and it's very clean, easy to read. And you have basically 3 settings here, a couple of basic configuration things, right? Settings, mode, and pair. So you have to use these buttons down here. There's a plus and a minus, and you'll see yes and no referred to those as well. So by holding down the home button for 3 seconds, you get to this menu. So let's take a look at modes. You got Switch, PC, iOS, and Android. I tested on everything but iOS. I don't have anything Apple in the house, so there's nothing I could do there. And then for settings, you have basically 4 profiles. One is default, where you can't change anything. Then you've got buttons, joysticks, and vibrations in 3 different settings. So each button can be reprogrammed into another button, right? So it works. So A equals A, easy peasy. You can only do one single button per map unless you're using the macro buttons on the back, and we're going to show you that in a minute. There's built-in turbo mode, all that good stuff. So again, you use the plus and minuses to navigate. You can see in the top right of the screen it says back and yes. So you can actually choose which controller, and there's a performance profile, and I'm going to have an overlay on the screen right now to show you what each one of these actually means. Last but not least, the vibration. We've got a little bit to talk about here. The vibration can be set. You can see, if you could look in the handles, you can see as I'm changing this that the motors are rotating. It's kind of cool. And that's it. You can do that for 3 separate instances. It's 3 separate profiles. Yeah, and you can switch profiles very, very easily. Poof, 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 you're done. I mean, it's that simple. No software, no drivers, no funky stuff. You could literally take this to a friend's house or whatever and pair it right up. Okay, so here we go. These are macros. So you can literally program macros in terms of current duration for the macros. I don't see anything about pauses, but it looks like that it's recording the pauses as you go. I'm not really a macro kind of guy. I really want those 4 buttons just to reassign my bumpers and my analog click sticks into. But this is possible. If you guys are interested in more information on the macros, I can definitely do a follow-up video. The screen seems very gimmicky, but when you realize that this is the only avenue, there's no mobile app, there's no PC app or anything. So you'll notice here I'm changing different PC modes. So if you hold down minus and press plus, you'll change between different modes up here. Right now it's PC direct input. Then it can change to PCX input or PC switch, right? So now it's a PC controller with switch formatting. And again, you'll probably want to keep it on X input, right? But it's nice because there are some things that use direct input that don't use X input. So you get all of those built in. And again, it's all done right here on the controller. I love this screen. I kind of wanted to highlight it so you could see it. I'm not really a big fan of the LEDs. I'll probably end up shutting it off, but this is what that kind of looks like. So you have min, max, different colors if you want it to cycle. So you can turn it off, keep them all on all the time, or do sort of a breathing type scenario. Languages, this is what you got. I'm not sure what those other 2 languages are, but if you knew, you would be able to tell. And then this is it, scan for the user's manual, which is pretty much an online version. So yeah, it's simple, easy to use, and I love the fact that you don't have to memorize stuff. It's all on the screen. It'll take you through it. Even if you haven't reprogrammed this thing in a while, you'll be able to go in and make your changes, change devices relatively quickly. And I like it. I mean, I think this is I think if it can get through the performance aspect of it, does it perform well, and it's comfortable, and the D-pad works out, and the buttons hold up, I think that will make this a pretty great controller. So let's move on to the performance tests now. All right, so Overwatch is a nice competitive shooter. We need both analog sticks. We need almost all the buttons. So it's a really good test. One thing I want to point out, though, is this is only comfortable to reach the bottom buttons for me on the back. Unless you kind of cramp up your hands and hold sort of claw method, it's very difficult to get to those other 2. So if you're really hoping for the 4, you expect 2 and maybe 4 if you're willing to adjust your hands a little bit. I know what you're wanting to know all about. D-pad. How is the D-pad? Well, here on the black version of the controller, I'm going to call out every time I miss making an up and a right. We just had one just a moment ago, and I even point out as I'm playing, I'm having trouble getting up and to the right. So in other words, jumping towards the enemy from the left. And listen, all you have to do is make one mistake and then you get comboed into oblivion, right? So this is standard fighting game stuff. But you'll also notice that I have no trouble whatsoever making any of the other type moves. You know, rolling to the rear, rolling to the front, rolling back and up. So all of those things are working just fine, as you can see here. The only problem that I really had was up and to the right. So if this had been the only controller that I tested, I might have thought that it may be a problem with the design. There, I missed it again. Fortunately, I have 2 of these controllers to test, and we're going to look at the other one in just a minute. So even though I was able to win, really, I'm not really trying to play. I'm trying to test the controller. You'll see, there I missed up and right again. But I do have this other controller, so let's move over to the white controller and see if it's a design problem or if it's a problem with the particular black controller that I was playing with. And as you can see, I don't miss a single jump to the right, not once. Everything else, and I tested all the other directions, all the other diagonals, and everything was fine. I have to chalk it up to a possible manufacturing defect on the black version of the controller that I have. Otherwise, though, the D-pad is fine. It feels on par with the Series controller, the Xbox Series controller I have. I would say that the Xbox Elite 2 is still a tiny bit better, but overall, in terms of the fighting game, I don't have any problems at all, at least with this white version. So if you end up getting one of these and you have a problem, send it back and get another one.
Die like my father.
So what do I think? I think this is a damn fine controller. It's $80, right? Now, that does put it in the middle class of devices. You can get Xbox controllers for less, but you're going to get more of the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller out of this one versus the more standard Xbox Series controller. I have them all, right? I have Xbox Elite 2. I have a Series controller. I've got numerous inexpensive controllers. I got them all, and I kick them around. I got the Gimmicky KK3, and I've had a review, and you can check that out right up there. But if you're looking for Xbox Elite class without the Xbox Elite price, you should probably be taking a look at this. Now, we did have that one problem with the up and to the right, but that was limited, I think, to one device. And I do not necessarily care for those rear triggers. The rear paddles, the bottom ones are fine, but the top ones, for my big old man hands, you're going to probably have some problems getting to it. And you can't even roll your fingers to kind of hit it. That might have been a nice thing. So I have to decide if I'm going to play a game like Overwatch that only requires 2 rear paddles so that I can replace the bumpers. Great. I'm not a bumper guy. I've never liked the bumpers. But if I'm going to play something that needs click sticks, like a really insane first-person shooter like Call of Duty, I would probably use a different controller just because I want to be able to take my click sticks and map those to the other 2 rear paddles. Listen, if you have any questions, you want to see more stuff, you want me to talk about the macros, you want me to do any of this stuff, more game tests, just let me know in the comments below. While you're down there, of course, like, subscribe, hit the bell. You guys know what to do. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.